So VPC. I think we looked at generally what an VPC is. So by default, when you create an AWS account, you get to have a VPC per region. So this is created by default. That is called as default VPC. Let me show that in my account. So this is my management console, my personal AWS account. So normally VPC is under the networking and content delivery section, VPC, or you can just type VPC up here and get there. So this is the management console VPC screen. By default, every region has got one VPC allocated to it. So that's the default VPC. And you would have by default certain number of subnets depending upon your region. Say, for example, I'm in North Virginia at the moment. I have one VPC, 6 subnets. If I say, for example, click Oregon, it changes. So now I have 4 subnets. The reason is by default, AWS creates one subnet per availability zone for each region. So for this region, there are 4 availability zones. So if I click on the subnets, for example, so this should show me their availability zones. So as you can see, US West A, B, C, D. This is another easy way to find out how many availability zones in the region. Again, this is a changing number. AWS develops new data centers and add things to constantly. So these numbers bound to change quite often. So that is the front dashboard view. So that's our VPC. So this is the default VPC, and this is the default subnets that are created. Again, we have default route tables, internet gateways, NACLs, and other things that gets created by default. So don't worry about it. We'll go through this one by one in detail. So that's what the default VPC is. So for every AWS account, you get to have one VPC per region, and then you get to have subnets depending upon which region you are. So all new accounts have a default VPC. The reason why you have a default VPC is they are quite user-friendly and they are ready to use so that you can get started quickly. So if I, for example, want to launch an instance straight away, I don't have to go and create a VPC subnet, none of that. All I have to do is just go in EC2, launch instance. I'm going to pick a simple instance. Right. So here you can actually see by default, it automatically uses the default VPC and the subnet as well. Again, you can get to choose the availability zone later, but you get the idea. So that's the purpose of having a default VPC. So that accelerates the process of using cloud services. You can get the resources going. And in some instances, you might not even have to create your own networks. So the default one might be enough for your use case. So that's what the default VPC is about. All new instances are automatically launched into the default VPC. I think you saw when we created the instance, it automatically pointing to the default VPC. If we have to launch the instance in a particular VPC, we need to specifically mention them. So once you start creating your own VPC, then it will start to appear on the drop-down box within that space. The default VPC will have default subnets and all the availability zones in the region. I think we covered that. There are public, so these are public subnet, which means it will have a route to internet via the internet gateway. So So we don't have any instance. So let's launch something real quick. So I'm not changing anything. So the network is default, subnet is default, everything is default. I'm not changing anything. Storage fine, tags changing, security groups will cover this, but I'm simply launching proceed with the RK4. I'm not going to connect to this. So just creating an instance just to show. So as you can see, this instance is still initializing. You can see a public IP here. So by default, when you launch an instance in your default VPC, it gets both a public IP as well as a private IP. This is a very important point to remember, both for examinations and practical purposes as well. Let me show you something real quick. Or you can. I'm going to the VPC. So this is our default VPC. We will cover this CIDR blocks and everything. I'm just trying to show the subnets. Okay, so we have so many subnets. If we look at just showing one subnet as an example, route table. Don't worry if it is confusing. Don't worry, we'll cover this in detail. Just showing something here. So as you can see, 0.0.0. Remember this. This is network internet traffic basically. It's connecting to an internet gateway. And these instances that you're launching in the subnet automatically has a way out to internet. So that's something to remember from a configuration and from a security point of view. So that's what this point is about. By default, these launch instances that you're launching in these places will have automatic internet access. So that's few pointers about default VPC.